Hey everyone, before we start this video, I want to let you know about Audible's free month that they're offering right now if you sign up in the link in the description. And after your official membership begins, you get a free audiobook of your choice each month as well. Audible is where I listen to all of my Star Wars audiobooks and where I get a lot of my information. It has officially licensed Star Wars music, voice acting, sound effects, and much more. Listening to these audiobooks is like having a movie playing and closing your eyes. I'd highly suggest listening to the brand new Star Wars Ronin, a Visions novel audiobook. The audiobook so far is amazing, and I can't wait to finish it all. It covers the story of a Sith who wanders the galaxy in this spin-off of Star Wars Visions' The Duel episode, the very first one. It takes heavy inspiration of Japanese culture and the samurai, blending it perfectly with Star Wars in this Audible masterpiece. The score, the acting, the sound effects, they really throw you all into the story. Now the cool thing about Audible is that it's transferable between all my devices and I can download them to any of my devices as well. And I listen to these audiobooks when I'm driving, jogging, working out, or making a meal, or just doing chores around the house. Audible also has a massive library of other audiobooks, including podcasts, documentaries, stand-up, and all genres of books as well. So to sign up for free, get your free month right now, text Star Wars Theory at 500-500 to get your free month, or click the link in the description of the video at audible.com/Star Wars Theory. Use my code, get the free month. You won't be disappointed, I guarantee you. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to today's fanfiction. This is going to be a bit of a cross-section between a fanfiction and a fantasy battle. So let's go into the fighting styles of Yoda and Anakin, as well as their personality and overall psychology and how this fight would actually go, and then we can carry it into what would happen in the galaxy if they did fight, if Yoda did go to Mustafar, and so on. So, in Revenge of the Sith, we had Obi-Wan fight Anakin and Yoda fight Palpatine. Against Obi-Wan's wishes, who requested to fight Sidious because he could not kill Anakin, was denied by Yoda and flat out was told that Palpatine would kill him. This led to the outcome we had, where Yoda lost to Sidious and Obi-Wan mutilated Anakin. What if Yoda went to Mustafar? Now this fanfiction will be incorporating tons of fantasy battle type explanations, as we need to understand the actual fight and who would win, and then we can discuss what would happen in the galaxy as a result of this fight. In the past, I've done a similar fanfiction, but this one will be more in depth on their fighting styles. As Obi-Wan tells Yoda he can't fight Anakin, Yoda agrees, and tells him to stay put in the temple and not to engage the Emperor at all costs until he returns. This would keep Obi-Wan alive and we can focus on Yoda's journey. Now in a previous fanfiction where I had them switch places, Obi-Wan fought the Emperor and it didn't go so well. So this time I'm going to make Obi-Wan just stay somewhere hidden until Yoda returns. I feel Yoda would know where Anakin was. He just didn't tell Obi-Wan for whatever reason. He told him to trust his feelings, and that led him to speak to Padme, resulting in him hiding in her ship as she traveled to Mustafar. Yoda would either travel to Mustafar, since I feel he already knew, or he would just sneak onto Padme's ship without even saying anything to her. It's Yoda. He's very smart, and he's that stealthy. Now Padme doesn't know about Anakin killing younglings, since Obi-Wan didn't tell her. We could say Yoda told her, but let's just go with the option of him sneaking onto her ship without her knowing. So Anakin sees Yoda in the doorway instead of Obi-Wan. He looks up, and he's actually kind of afraid. He's taken back. The Grand Master is here. Annie isn't nearly as angry as he was when Kenobi showed up. He knows that he's in trouble now, and he's about to pay for what he's done. I feel like when Anakin saw Obi-Wan, it was kind of like seeing, your brother, and you're gonna fight him or something like that. But I feel like seeing Yoda is kind of like seeing your parents, where it's not gonna go well. Master Yoda. No, Padme says. I didn't bring him here. Anakin looks enraged at her. He chokes her and Yoda uses the Force to push Anakin back, tumbling to the ground. Now this is something I always thought Obi-Wan was just really slow on. He's literally walking down the ramp and he can see Anakin choking Padme and he just keeps walking down. He doesn't try to disarm him, he doesn't try to push him away or save her or anything like that. He kind of just lets it happen. But I feel Yoda would immediately take action and push Anakin out of there.
A disgrace you are, young Skywalker. Betray your friends, you have.
As Anakin gets up, he takes his robe off. It is you who betrayed me. The Jedi never gave me the respect I deserved.
Entitled you are. Pay you will, for all you have done.
If it wasn't for your lack of empathy, the Jedi would still be alive. You are responsible for this. Yoda shook his head.
Much to learn, you still have. Mistake it was, trusting you.
Don't make me kill you.
Try, you will. Succeed, you will not.
Anakin ignites his saber, but before he can leap at Yoda like he did Obi-Wan, the Jedi Grandmaster was already at his feet, lightsaber slashing at his ankles. Anakin blocks it and realizes how fast the Grandmaster is. He really was faking it with that cane this whole time. He had never dueled Yoda before, and yet, here he thought he was a better fighter than him for all these years. The two would fight an incredible duel. As molten lava surrounded them, Anakin would be wary of Yoda's speed and his small stature, which proved difficult to fight against. Yoda would need to be cautious of the youthful energy that Skywalker possessed. His stamina was natural and didn't require the Force to enhance, whereas Yoda pulled from the Force to enhance his speed and agility due to his old age and stature. He couldn't fight like this forever, regardless of how powerful he was in the Force. Anakin used Form 5 Demso. This was a more aggressive fighting style that focused on offense rather than more defense like Kenobi's Form 3 Sarisu. Now Yoda, he used Form 4 Ataru. This was also a very aggressive form. So, with these two fighting, it would probably be a more intense fight than any other, since they're both using offensive attacks, always trying to kill each other essentially. Whereas with Kenobi, he was more so defending and blocking, looking for an opening, and being very, very patient. This battle would just be undulating between one being the aggressor and the other being less aggressive until they falter and get the upper hand, switching roles tumultuously. Now the downside with Ataru with Form 4, Yoda's Form 4, is that it can't be used for too long, and it was very weak in confined spaces, as the practitioner usually hops around and uses acrobatics and a lot of space to aid their strikes. While Anakin would continue to do his best, Yoda's abilities in the Force would cripple his. Anakin had a larger potential than Yoda, however, he was not as well trained or experienced or as powerful at this point. He was an infant compared to Yoda, and it showed in his Force abilities and techniques. Yoda marveled at how impressive of a fighter Anakin actually was. He didn't realize he was this good, but still, no match for Yoda. Ataru aided those who had physical limitations like Yoda did. However, it allowed them to enhance and make up for all of their drawbacks through their call upon the Force. So it was really important that they were very strong Force users, and if they weren't, well, they wouldn't be able to have as much help. So for Yoda, who's an extremely powerful Force user, you can see how much it actually helped him. Now, what it did when they used the Force, when they used Ataru and the Force, it essentially made their strikes enhanced. Their speed was like a blur, and their overall ability to sense attacks heightened. So they could kind of see before an attack happened, they could see what was going to happen and what their attack would be to counter it. However, as mentioned, it couldn't be used forever. You can't just use the Force infinitely without eventually getting tired. This is the only way that Anakin could get the upper hand. If he played defense long enough, he'd be able to wait until Yoda got a little bit tired, and then he could turn on that furnace of a heart that he had, just like Dooku explained in the Revenge of the Sith novel, how his powers just kept increasing and increasing by the moment, like there was no limit. This would help Anakin as he fought Yoda. His powers would continue to expand as Yoda bounced off walls and did flips, striking Anakin at immense speeds. Yoda was much more calm, much more connected to the Force, more powerful, more experienced, and overall just a better fighter at this point in his life. I mean, he was almost 900 years old, and Anakin was just, well, 22. Now, whatever Anakin made up for in physical dominance, Yoda made up for in the Force. Not to mention, one Force push into the lava and it would have been over. Now you guys know Anakin's my favorite character, along with Qui-Gon and Luke, but it just would be ridiculous if I chose Anakin to win in this. That would be a completely rigged fight and it just wouldn't make any sense. So, Yoda would bounce off the walls and slice Anakin's feet off as he stepped to him and pointed his green lightsaber to Skywalker's throat.
Under arrest you are.
As he'd throw some restraining cuffs at him and tell him to cuff himself, as Anakin screaming in agony over his feet. Yoda would use the Force to lift Anakin and move him into Padme's ship until he saw overhead Palpatine's ship arrive. As Palpatine stepped out, he would say under his breath,
"I sense Lord Vader is in trouble,"
as he turned his head to see Yoda carrying Vader with the Force into Padme's ship. Now we gotta remember that Yoda wasn't keeping Palpatine preoccupied, so After their duel in the original timeline, where Yoda fought Palpatine and Yoda fell to the bottom, Palpatine essentially tells Mas Amedda and his shock troopers that he senses Lord Vader is in trouble. So he would have said this earlier, I feel like, if he was just sitting in his office twiddling his thumbs, especially if Obi-Wan wasn't there to fight him for a little bit. So he would have left to Mustafar a little earlier, right around the time here where Yoda beat Anakin, which was a much faster duel than Anakin vs. Obi-Wan. Enraged, Palpatine creates a massive force storm and spirals towards Yoda, who drops Skywalker and ignites his saber, as Sidious strikes hard. A much faster and more aggressive fighter than Anakin at this level. Sidious was giving Yoda a true test to his almost 900 years of life and experience in the Force. Not to mention, he was a little bit tired from fighting Anakin. Now Skywalker would join in if it were not for his seared off ankles, so he lay in agony moaning as he looked to Padme, and she was unconscious. She was laying on the ground where he had choked her. His eyes flickering to Sith orange, but there was literally nothing he could really do. As he looked above, another ship landed and Obi-Wan Kenobi got out, running over. Kenobi was keeping an eye on the Emperor's shuttle and saw that he sped off, so he got into his own Jedi starfighter and sped after him. Of course, keeping quite the distance. Now, you might say that he would lose him in hyperspace to Mustafar, but we could say that he threw a homing beacon or something like that on his ship, much like he did to Jango Fett in Episode 2. As he saw Skywalker laying there, Anakin's eyes filled with rage at the sight of him. And unable to do anything, he tried to get up, but he only enraged himself further at his failure. Kenobi looked towards Padme and felt her head as she heard the crackle of Sidious from afar. Well into the control center, he ran in to help Yoda fight the Emperor. As Kenobi joined in, him and Yoda would take on Sidious, and they would eventually beat him. Fighting Yoda was hard enough, but to throw another Jedi Master proficient in Form 3 Sariso into the mix was impossible, even for Sidious. Palpatine would attack and take the arm of Kenobi, and he would be blocking one attack one moment, only to be attacked from behind, when finally, Yoda would move in for the finishing strike, killing the Emperor. As Kenobi lay in searing pain over his lost arm, he would rise to his feet and assure the Grand Master that he was alright. They would go to Polis Massa, where Bail Organa would meet them there. Anakin would receive new feet while still restrained, and Obi-Wan would receive the latest technology of a new arm, as good as new. And Padme, well, she would give birth to the twins. She would look over to the next room and see her husband in the cell, and as she would see that he is okay and alive, she would continue to live as well. So she doesn't die for the loss of will to live here. She survives and prevails, and ends up being a great mother to Luke and Leia. Anakin is tried in court, and forced to give his full story on what had happened. Anakin confesses to everything, and he was just happy that Padme survived childbirth. So at this point, he just felt defeated, and he felt like he made a horrible mistake, but in his mind, the Jedi were the problem. The Jedi were the one who turned him in and caused all of this. Padme wanted nothing to do with him anymore. He murdered younglings and destroyed the Jedi. She didn't even know him anymore, and she wouldn't want that kind of a man raising their son and daughter. Skywalker is put into jail and locked away. Perhaps he'll escape someday, perhaps he'll be locked in forever. All surviving Jedi slowly reform and group back up at the Jedi Temple, as Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi take in Padme and Anakin's children. She was very against it and wanted a different life for her kids, but after much convincing by Obi-Wan Kenobi, he assured her that their lives would be more protected should they learn the ways of the Force, and develop their tremendous latent abilities passed down from their father. Padme would accept, but she would always say that they have the choice to leave the Order should they wish later in life. Kenobi assured her that their lives were their own choice. Luke and Leia would grow to become quite powerful. Leia would love the life of a Jedi, however, she would leave to pursue politics. And this was mainly because she saw how much fighting for the Republic there was that the Jedi were doing, and she decided that she could make a bigger change by being right in the action of the delegates and the Senate, rather than a pawn in their game, and just kind of going wherever the Republic ordered them next, as Jedi. Luke would continue to rival all masters at the temple by the age of 25. He would become a Jedi Master himself and take on a Padawan of his own, leading him to wonderful adventures throughout the galaxy, perhaps finding something very dark and sinister somewhere in the galaxy. That is, until Palpatine would rise from the hidden planet of Exegol in the unknown regions and I'm just kidding. They all lived happily ever after, until the Yuuzhan Vong showed up, which then the Jedi would be in big doo-doo this time. Thanks for watching this fan fiction. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Leave a like if you want a part 2 to this, maybe with Anakin escaping, and I'll try to get on that for you. Until the next episode, remember, the Force will be with you always.